We're back on Spotify, Stefs Rock Show. Our next guest I've known for a really long time. He's drumming for Foreigner, Frazier.
Hey, everybody in not TV land, podcast land, I guess.
Yeah, this podcast thing's taken over now. So I can't believe, dude, I met you in 2004 when you were drumming for Eddie Money, which was just a couple days ago. Yeah. So tell
Okay.
me, how did you start drumming with Eddie?
Um, what is that noise? Hang on a second.
Yeah.
That must be you. Okay. You know, I was playing with this guy Eric Sardinas, this blues artist, and we opened for Eddie somewhere. We opened at a House of Blues. I think it was in Anaheim, and his drummer, who was leaving, came up to me and he said, "Hey, man, you've got to. I'm going to recommend you for this gig. You're like the perfect guy for this gig." And so he recommended me, and Eddie called me one day. Like I didn't know it was really going down yet. And then one day the phone rang, and I pick up the phone. I'm like, "Hello," and he goes, "Hey, this is Eddie Money, the singer. You want a gig?" and that was kind of it. The rest is history, you know. Um, yeah, I played with him for probably five years or something like that.
Do
I
you
did
have like
take.
your favorite fond memory of working with him?
Well, I used to love to play "Life for the Taking" because that was like almost like a really cool John Bonham kind of feel. That was a good song. There was a song called "Keep My Motor Running," but we didn't do that one that often. But when we did it, it was a lot of fun. Every now and then he'd pull that one out. He had like a really big catalog, and he would get
Yeah.
bored doing the same catalog over and over again, and so he would mix it up sometimes, you know, and he would pull that one out on us every now and then.
He has so many
Um,
hits. I like Shaken. That was one of my favorites.
yeah, Shakin's good. That was a big hit for him, you know. And it's funny because I think I sort of took it for granted when I was playing with him because I was like, I'm used to playing with Steve Vai and guys like that, you know what I mean? And so, you know, I guess that the songwriting thing didn't really kick in until later. I started realizing just how great his songwriting was and how great his songs were, and they've kind of stood the test of time. Like, you know, "Two Tickets to Paradise" is still a huge song. Every time I hear "Baby Hold On to Me," I'm just like, man, that's the shit. That song is so cool,
Yeah.
you know, so well written. You know, I
Yeah. It's almost a bummer to me that these interviews I've done a long time ago in radio, one of them's Eddie Money and the other one is Chester of Lincoln Park. They blow up after the person has passed away. And I go, wow, why
yeah,
weren't you guys on board when they were alive at how talented this
yeah.
artist was?
I guess it's the not being able to have something. And it's human nature, you know. Well, now I can't have it. Now I want it, you know.
Yeah. No, I've
But
heard that.
but you know what? Like I think good songs, like there's a cycle. You know, like they'll go in and out of popularity. You know, and Eddie's stuff is kind of going back into popularity now because people are kind of there's a shortage of good songs, if you ask
Yeah.
me. You know, nowadays. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why Foreigners, you know, as popular as we are, because those songs are just they're timeless, cool classics. And I mean, like good songwriting back in the 70s and 80s, there was like a story there, and you could understand all the lyrics, and it was relatable. And there's so much stuff nowadays that I'm lost. I don't know what they're talking about. It's like nebulous shit, you know. So it's not storytelling to me, you know. Maybe that's why country music has made such a big splash recently because, you know, to write a good country song, you got to tell a good story. And
Yeah.
so that's probably one of the reasons why, you know, guys like Jason Aldean is so big. And, you know,
I
I
get down
guess,
on some country and jelly roll some rock country. I love 70s, 80s, and 90s rock, and I kind of fall off after the 90s. But, I'll
yeah.
still go to all the festivals and host things. But so how did you transfer then from Eddie Money to Whitesnake, drumming for them?
Well, that was Doug Aldridge, you know, Tommy and Tommy and David had a falling out. So Tommy Aldridge and David Coverdale apparently like they had a falling out, and David wanted to replace him, and everybody was, aghast that he wanted to replace Tommy Aldridge. Even me, I was like, really? Why would you fire him? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think it was more of a personal issue. They just needed a break from one another. And Doug called me up, and Doug and I have known each other for years. We did like all kinds of projects together before that. I was on both of his solo records, and don't tell anybody, but we were both on tour with Tiffany at the same time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Back in 2000, we did a Tiffany tour, and it wasn't a mall tour; it was a college tour.
Oh,
And
wow.
we would do these gigs in the quad, like at lunchtime. So it was almost the same business model. It was just a different venue location, because she got her start singing in the malls by herself,
Yeah.
And became a sensation that way. And then she sort of was able to maybe restart her career by doing these college gigs. But anyways, so there was like really good people on that tour. It was me, Doug, Lauren Gold. I don't know if you know who Lauren Gold is, but he plays keyboards for The Who.
Yeah.
And but I digress. So I got the gig with with Whitesnake, and did a few tours with them, did a couple records, and it just was kind of time to go. It was like I think playing the songs is more fun than being in the band. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. Well,
you
sometimes
know
it's hard. You can, love something professionally and then maybe on a friendship level, not vibe as well. And so there's all different aspects of why people go to different bands and go into different
yeah,
projects.
yeah,
So I've seen you with Eddie Money and I've seen you with Foreigner. So I
yeah.
didn't get to see you with Whitesnake. So how did you then jump on board with Foreigner with Kelly Hansen and everything now?
Well, let's see.
You answered a Craigslist ad. That's how it happened.
No, that's how I got the Steve Vai gig.
Yeah, you met on Grindr with Foreigner and they were
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah, we want you.
That's right. So Jeff Pilson and I have been friends for years. We've been friends since like the 80s.
I love
And
Jeff, but I
yeah,
love him. Yeah.
he's the best. And they were going to do a cattle call. They were going to see a whole bunch of drummers because Mark Shulman was going to leave. He was going to go out and play with Pink, and he just wrote a book, and so he was going to do like a book tour, and he had all this stuff going on. So he wanted to leave, and so they decided to see a bunch of guys. And again, I was out on the road with Eric Sardinas, and this time I was in Europe with him. So there was just no way I could get back to do the audition. I was, they were having a big kind of cattle call thing, seeing like 50 guys. And I just went.
Aren't you too cool at that point to be a part of 50 guys?
Well, I sort of did a too cool move by just saying
Yeah.
I can't make it.
Yeah.
I'm in Europe touring and I just can't make it. But why don't you get down to the 4 guys that you like and then have me come in and I'll audition against them.
Yeah.
Once I get back. And so that's what I did. I came in and I played against actually 3 other guys. And it just kind of worked out. I mean, I think there was a vibe there. I think we all just there was just a symbiotic kind of connection. We all just played well together and hung out and had the kind of the same sort of, sense of humor, and it was an easy hang, and we all, kind of knew each other. I kind of knew Bruce Watson. Him and I had done a few gigs at Poncho's together, which is this like Mexican restaurant in Redondo Beach, and like it became a thing. Like on weekends, we would like that place just turned into like kind of a rock and roll hang. Like you never know who you were going to see playing in there.
I remember going there.
Yeah. So
and it feels like the first time. It was that good with Foreigner. You guys. So Jeff, when he was in Dawkins, he called into the radio station. He's got one of my favorite calls. I guess his leg went through a stage and it got hurt by a bunch of wood, and he just kept performing. He didn't stop playing while his leg was like bleeding, stuck in a stage. So that's dedication.
Yeah, he had a few operations too over the years, and so he had to do gigs sitting down for a while there because he had two hip replacements and he had a knee replacement, and all this stuff was happening while we were on the road. And
Wow.
because of our schedules, he would just have to like suffer, for
Oh my God.
months. So he would be up there with a bad meniscus, just playing through it with like just wrapping it, and like he had like a knee brace that he would wear, and he would just get out there and do the gig and be in agony, for months until he could
Is
get
that a
home. And
benefit of being a drummer? You get to sit?
I have all kinds of issues myself. They're just not in my legs. They're like in my neck. They're in my shoulders. They're in my hands. It's just wear and tear.
Part of being a seasoned rock star.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's
So,
that's the thing they don't tell you about is like the wear and tear and all the hospital visits.
yeah. And then,
Yeah.
life is hard on the road, whether you're in a tour bus or flying a lot. It's not the
Mhm.
easiest to eat healthy and stuff. What is some of the challenges you face touring a lot?
Well, I dig touring actually.
You're just so used to it. I feel like since I talked to you a long time ago, you're just on the road touring. You're gone all the time. So maybe it's weird for you to be home.
It's not weird. I guess what it is like after I'm home for a few months, I kind of start looking at the calendar like, so when do we go back out again?
You get
Just
antsy
because
to leave.
I got to do something.
Yeah.
Either I got to work on a record here, which I have been doing. I did a record like last year and we just released it and it was just fantastic. I'm like really, really happy with it.
Yeah.
That's a guy named Chris Nix. It was me, Billy Sheehan, and Chris Nix, and a few other guests. And we just released this. We released a collection of songs that we've done over the past couple of years called "The Incidents of Travel" by Chris Nix and the Modest Gods. So if you want to check that out, it's very much right up my alley kind of music. It's like fusion-y sort of rock. You probably like it. But
I like the name of it.
yeah, Chris Nix and the Modest Gods.
Well, the modest gods. Like I don't know how you could be modest and a god, but I dig it.
Well, it's like you're a god, and you go, oh shucks.
Yeah, you're not going to brag about it.
Oh shucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I saying? So we were talking about the road.
Traveling and touring, so you actually don't have a problem with touring as much as you do.
I do because I have like businesses here. Like I have properties that I have to manage and rent out and maintenance and things like that. And so it just seems like every time I go out on the road, that's when the shit hits the fan on one of these properties, or like a tornado's ripping through town, which seems to be happening a lot in Tennessee for some reason. And so there's be branches and stuff and like damage around the house or around one of my properties that has to be taken care of. And inevitably I'm out of town when it happens and I've got to pay somebody else to deal with it. So
why is everyone moving to Tennessee? That it's just the hottest spot the last like 5 years.
Low cost of living, music business is thriving. Lots of great players here, lots of opportunity, though it's getting to the point where enough's enough. Like maybe enough people have moved here. Let's find another place for the musicians to go. Damn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because all the locals that lived here 10 years ago, they're just like, none of them can afford to buy houses now.
Yeah.
Because it's like the part of town that I live in, like how Silver Lake used to be really inexpensive to live in, and now it's like millions to live there. It's like that.
It's like was the hipster cool spot, but then everyone went there. And that's how I went to Austin for a year, but it was in 2011. So it was just on the cusp of becoming cool and it was super affordable compared to California. Yeah. And now everyone's saying Austin prices are close to California. So
sure, absolutely.
It's crazy how that just happens.
It's kind of happening here too.
Yeah. I've never been out to Nashville. That is on my to-do list. I got to get out there.
I think the only thing that's different is like property taxes are much lower here than they are in California.
Yeah, that's what does me in.
And then state taxes too.
Yeah,
state taxes there's no state tax here.
Wow.
And property taxes are low. So it's cost of living is really low here. I think that's why. A lot of great players, almost everybody that I know that used to live in LA, they're either moving here or have moved here already.
Yeah. Yeah. I just visited LA again in April and wanted to hang out with people, and they're all in Vegas and Nashville. And since COVID kind of shut everything down, so it was hard for musicians to make money and people in entertainment. So they really kind of jumped ship in 2020.
You know what? I was so funny. I was remembering this, like this time that when we hung out at the Asparagus Festival.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that you remember that too, because I remember the Asparagus Festival too. And it was like the hot thing you go to every year in NorCal. And I was just like, I was idolizing you. I was definitely groupie, like, he's so hot. And I was just so young. You know what I mean? I was like 20 or something. And
I know. And you were like, let's go out and get asparagus margaritas. And I was like, no, thank you.
That does sound gross now, but maybe I thought I was being cool. I had like a fake ID even. I don't think I was 21. I probably never tried one, but I was just trying to sneak you away. I was trying to be creepy.
Oh, okay. That was your excuse.
Yeah.
And it didn't work because I hate asparagus.
Yeah. Well, man, I wish I would have known that.
You know what? I like asparagus now. I just don't want it in like a sweet drink. That sounds weird. You know what I mean? That sounds weird.
Yeah, don't try to pull drummers, ladies. Listen, with asparagus margaritas, it's not going to work. That was a fail in the past. Can I ask you some random fun questions?
Sure.
Okay. If you could choose between these 3 songs, would you rather play Take Me Home Tonight, Here I Go Again on My Own, or Urgent?
Probably Urgent.
Okay. That's a hot song. It's a sexy song.
It's really a sexy song.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun to play that song. That song rocks hard.
I think everyone wants to feel needed too. And that song is a great, like, you're needed.
Think about Here I Go Again. Like, it's a good rock song, but I mean, the drum parts that are on Here I Go Again, I guess that Ansley Dunbar played those. And the thing is, like, those drum parts are so iconic that's how you have to play that song. There's no room for interpretation at all on that song. You can't play it like, oh, Chris Frazier's way of playing the song. You can't do it. You got to play it exactly the way that it was recorded originally. And that turns me off usually. You want
to have your own take, your own rhythm, and a little bit of flair on the song. I didn't even think you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on Urgent that I sort of came up with. It's my thing. Take Me Home Tonight is that's a very groove-oriented song. There's not an awful lot of room for interpretation there either, but such a great song that, that's a good Ed song.
Yeah.
There was another song we used to do called Trinidad, which is a very interesting song too. And he didn't call that one very often either. But that one was another one of those kind of B-side Eddie songs that are really cool. So what's your other questions?
Okay. So what is your favorite venue to play?
Guess Red Rocks.
Oh yeah. Red Rocks is the number one answer. You've got,
Red Rocks is kind of iconic. It has a vibe about it. It's always the summertime, and it sounds great in there. And, and you can see all these faces because it's such a vertical, like, audience seating chart. Everybody's kind of sitting like right in front of you. The only bad thing about Red Rocks is, like, so many times I've played there and it gets rained out.
Oh yeah.
It happened when I was playing there with Vi. We were opening for Bon Jovi, and torrential downpour destroyed the desk, just destroyed the monitor desk, destroyed, like, the amps were just like frying. It was like one of the worst rainstorms. It was like coming in sideways, so it was hitting all the equipment, and then the canopy just collapsed onto the monitor rig, and it was like we couldn't hear anything. And
does anyone get reimbursed from the venue or the site for that, or that's just you eat it?
We still get paid, It's
Yeah.
just like if it gets rained out and if we have to leave the stage, we still get paid for it. I think that a lot of promoters that do stuff for Red Rocks, I think that they have to get bonded, and their bond is like actually pretty expensive, because it's so likely that something like that will happen there.
Yeah.
So there's that place, and then Pine Knob is another one, that's just so iconic. It's like that's probably the best amphitheater, the best under like in sort of like covered amphitheater. That's the one that's in Michigan.
Okay.
Everybody plays there. Pine Knob is like a big one.
Okay, so how do you make a relationship work when you're a busy rock star on the road a lot?
A lot of phone calls, a lot of FaceTiming, a lot of flying out my wife to see me. She comes out and visits a lot, and she brings Halen, our son, out a lot, and so and the thing is, like, this band has become such a family oriented band that everybody does that. Like Michael, our keyboard player, he has a brand new newborn daughter. Him and his wife and daughter come out all the time, and Luis, our soon to be new singer, which we got to talk about. So Kelly's leaving.
Oh,
And
okay.
Kelly is leaving. This is his last summer. And so the guy that's been playing guitar and singing backgrounds is our new lead singer.
Oh, wow.
And
I
and
didn't know
he
that.
and
Okay.
he starts in September. And so he's got a family too. He's got a daughter and a wife, and they come out. Jeff has got a daughter who's in college already, and his wife and daughter come out. Everybody's families come out all the time.
So
It's
that's
like
cool. It's a family oriented band. Then you
it's a
guys just make time.
it's a family affair.
That's cool. That's cool. What is your favorite thing to do in your downtime when you've got some downtime and you're on the road?
In order to keep me from drinking, tons of alcohol and snorting massive amounts of cocaine,
And banging hookers.
yeah, I I go play golf.
I
It's
like
the
it.
it's the it's the Alice Cooper sobriety technique of playing golf on the road.
Yeah, that's cool. It keeps you
Yeah,
active.
it
Yeah.
keeps you active. It gets you outside. You get like sunshine and fresh air, and you walk and get to swing the club, and you know, and I'm nuts for golf, so I do that. I play all the
I've
time.
bartended at golf ranges and I like driving the carts and bartending there, but I
Yeah.
don't play. It's fun to flirt with the old men and bartend at them. Do you
You were a
have,
cart girl. That does not
oh
surprise me.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book that you've read recently or a while ago that stands out to you?
I got a lot of favorite books, but let's see. Well, I just read Alex Van Halen's book, and it's not one of my favorite books. I mean, it's not Walt Whitman or anything like that, but it is really a great book as insight to their relationship, like Alex and Eddie's relationship, and his feelings about Dave, and his feelings about his father, and the way that they were brought up, and how they got to the United States when they were kids, and how they got into the music industry, and the rise to success of Van Halen. Like, it was not overnight. They worked their asses off. It's
Yeah.
very insightful. Great book. It's a great read. I just wish that there was more in the book about the Sammy days, but I think that Alex just doesn't like Sammy.
Just
And
wanted
he
to
did.
ride him out.
I don't think he likes Sammy. I think he just
Yeah.
decided it wasn't worth writing about him. I don't really know why that is.
It interests
But
me when I ask musicians who their favorite artist is or inspiration or band, the most common answer is Van Halen.
it's lightning in a bottle, because
Yeah.
it's rock, but it's also something completely undefinable. I mean, Fair Warning is just such a incredible record. The playing, everybody's playing is so good. It's such a tastefully well done record. It's so raw too. Like, the energy is like so great on that record, because there's no. I mean, it's a well titled record, because there wasn't a fair warning when they put that out. It was like, here's my dick, okay? And it was like,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the what kind of, attitude they have.
In your face. I heard
Yeah,
Gene
yeah.
Simmons even helped discover, like, found them before they blew up and was a fan.
He
It's
did. He
wild.
discovered them and he paid for their first demo.
That's so cool.
And then they shot the demo with a bunch of different record companies, and when Ted Templeman bid on it, then I guess Gene just backed out. He just kind of went, well,
He had a little band on the side called
yeah,
Kiss. I don't know if people
yeah,
have heard of it.
yeah.
He
They
had
were up
something
and
going on.
coming.
Yeah, yeah. They started opening for Van Halen later. No, I'm just kidding.
But the fact
Um,
that he just sort of like released the reins and kind of went, okay, well, now you guys can have success. It was like he did it as a labor of love, which is pretty cool.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. So what are like, is there an odd job before you became a cool drummer and got in the rock star life? Is there an odd job you worked prior that really stands out to you?
well, I can tell you some stories about some odd jobs I had when I first moved to LA that were just horrifying jobs. Like
Yeah.
never, I'm still scarred from them. But no, I was a bartender before I was a drummer, and I worked at a lot of different places. I worked at FM Station. There was a couple other places, like there was a place called Lake Cafe that was in the Valley that I worked at. I looked at L'Express. I don't know if you ever went to L'Express.
Yeah.
But before that, like when I first moved to LA, I got a job at this shipyard where they had all these refrigerator trucks, and they would pull these refrigerator trucks into this big yard. And this was in Downey, like in downtown. And my job was to take this big brush and clean the sides of the trucks, with like this really corrosive soap, and get all the dirt and all the
Yeah.
grease and everything off the outside of the trucks, And
Glamorous.
I'd have to get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd work from 5 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then
Damn.
that's when the trucks would come in and grab one of the refrigerator trailers and go to Ralph's and pick up a bunch of shit or whatever. I don't know.
Much better to be drumming with Foreigner than scrubbing the shipyards.
Yeah, that was a terrible job. And it was right next to the Farmer John's meat processing plant. So I went home smelling like processed meat every day.
I bet that was hot. You got laid a lot. Like, you smell like old meat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, chicks really love hot dogs. Just like,
They
that smells
dig
like
that.
hot dogs. Mm.
Yeah. Dude, so what's some of the drum companies that you use or that you're signed with and you've used over the years?
Man, I've been with DW and Zildjian and Remo and Vic Firth for 25 years.
Wow.
I think I've been with Zildjian for more than that. I think I've been with Zildjian for nearly 40 years now, because I think I got signed in 82. So
that doesn't make sense because you're 42 years old. So I don't understand
right, that. Right. It's all that
Lots of
adrenochrome that I do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, since you've been in the game for so long, one more question. What's your words of advice for younger musicians coming up?
Man, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the playing field is now. I mean, I could, say all the normal shit that people say is like, don't ever give up, and, hang on to your dreams. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
For drummers, I mean, I want the art form to carry on. And I think that there are some guys out there that are carrying on, but I want everyone to kind of just don't make being on, TikTok or YouTube a career. That's just not a career. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not artistry. You're not being an artist. I mean, if you're an artist, you're like recording music and you're putting out content that way, like follow some sort of like real dream of real music and follow that, and get in a room and play with guys that you like, because, the language of music is a lot more important than playing shit that you wrote on a computer in your bedroom. Whether it's very enticing, I guess, because people make a lot of money doing it, I guess, nowadays. But if you're making, 5 figures a month playing drums in your room, how are you going to sustain that? because eventually they're just going to start looking at other stuff. I mean, because the public is very, when it comes to looking at content on YouTube, everybody's very fickle about that, and
Yeah.
you may just, it runs its course and then people is on to the next thing. But if you're in a band that is recording music that is iconic and, becomes timeless, then you've sustained something that has a life, so.
I agree. Starting this podcast last year, I was reaching out to people, what's big and what's new. And I was getting a lot of these TikTok artists, and I was completely confused because they hadn't left their basement. They're living with their mom and dad, and they're just performing in this basement, and they've never performed in front of a large crowd, but they have a high amount of likes or shares or following. And as much as I get it, it's the new thing. I don't appreciate it as much as I do. You're in a real band, creating real music, performing in front of an actual crowd that has to show up to your performance or not. But we all are we have short attention spans. So we're just flopping through. And if you like somebody that's all cute with her boobs out playing drums in someone's basement, then you're going to watch it, But it's like, wait, does she actually have longevity to join a band and a career? Or is this just some fun, hot thing for the moment?
Yeah. And how much of it has been edited and, auto, like they can fix things, like, I mean, that's Pro Tools. You can fix anything, you can make it sound amazing. You just hit like quantize. So I don't know how much of that stuff is quantized. It sounds awfully perfect to me.
Yes.
And I like to hear stuff that isn't perfect. I want to hear the humanity in it, like Keith Richards is like, you can't quantize Keith Richards, it won't sound like Keith Richards. And
I can't believe he's still alive. It's amazing. It's great.
It's all the drugs, just it's like preservatives.
Yeah. I saw a post the other day. It's like, why do millennials look younger than Gen X? And it's like that we had so many like McDonald's processed food and vaccines and whatnot that it actually preserved us. So I get that. I get that. And some people you just can't kill. They've got longevity in them. They're not going down.
Well, who knows what he does now? I mean, he could be one of those guys that's going and getting IV drips or, getting his blood transfused. Who knows?
I think the secret is banging young chicks. If you keep banging young people, like I date younger guys, that keeps you young. I think it's a real thing.
So you're a mom though, right? You have
but I get weekends off to do whatever I want. So on the weekends, I can go back to wild LA days.
And you live in Sacramento? Where do you live?
Yeah, Sacktown.
So, and you aren't sick of the gene pool there?
No, I just like young guys, and then I usually like guys in LA. That's just my type. And so I find myself continuing to fly back to LA or San Diego. Unfortunately, it's always a flight away. I don't connect with a lot of people in Sacramento are great, but they're normal in suburbs doing normal things. And it's really hard to relate to someone. I'm sure you've had this where if you've had a wild past in the back, it's hard to be like, oh, so you go to work 9 to 5 and you've never left this town. It's difficult to carry on a conversation.
Yeah, I'm having like a reverse midlife crisis, like because I've been such a I've just lived like, an adolescent my entire life up until now. So now I like play golf and I have a wife and I got a kid and
and congratulations, by the way, on fatherhood too. That's
go to
awesome.
bed at 10 o'clock at night,
That's late. I like to go to bed early. Now, I'm not going to lie. I like to go to bed like 8 or 9. I'm just not, I can't. Well, dude, thank you so much, Chris, for taking time out of your day. I know you're super busy. You're going back on tour with Foreigner soon. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come by my new podcast.
And I guess we're going to be in your neighborhood in Wheatland. Is that what it is? It's Wheatland near you? Yeah.
It's 45 minutes from Sac. I put it on the calendar and I would love to come out and see you.
You're on the list. Whatever you want.
Okay. Thank you. I'll remind you. Thank you.